fuck is this?
What?
What the fuck is this? This is garbage.
It's beautiful.
Welcome back to Marvel Media Podcast, where we talk about all things media, especially Marvel. I'm Blake, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Josh and Alex.
And welcome to episode 17 of Marvel Talk. Today we'll be reviewing Thor: Love and Thunder. So this is not going to be very positive. So I might as well just interject here before you guys go off on your little tangent. I wouldn't say that it was overall a good movie. It was definitely not bad, because I feel like these guys are going to absolutely rip it a new one. I think it was kind of like a meh movie. It was kind of middle of the road. Nothing really bad with it. Nothing really good with it either. The CGI at certain points was rough. That was a rough one. And then at other times it looked really good. Like the scenery and stuff. Like, yeah, that looks good. And then there's one shot in particular where I'm like, what the fuck were they thinking with that? That was rough. Are we doing spoilers or no?
Yeah.
We are? Okay. Yes.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it by now, you don't care about it.
It's been out for a minute. 2 weeks, I think. Heimdall's son, when he's first introduced, like through like the, yeah, that was a rough.
Dude.
Made no sense as well.
Yeah.
I don't even think it was rough. I think it was like an intentional joke, but it was just so bad.
It made no sense
that
too.
it just
Like,
made
when
it
would
even
Heimdall
worse.
have any time to, one, have a wife, second off, then have a kid, and the kid to be as old as it is? Just made absolutely no sense. But that was the theme of this movie. All of a sudden, Korg in
Out of nowhere.
Ragnarok talks about the only people who showed up to his revolution was his mom and stepdad, and then all of a sudden we learn in this that all of Korg's kind they're all males. So, all of a sudden, just Taika, was promoting this as the gayest Marvel movie. No, let's just make shit up to make it seem like it is, even though it was all just gay baiting. For the gayest Marvel movie, the only gay kiss, I guess you could say, was Valkyrie kissing one of Zeus's females on the hand and jumping off, which was a split second in the movie. So just that made right so that they could still edit
Disney
that
could
out.
cut it off,
So I mean, it just
For the
there was
Chinese
just so
release.
many things like that that just all of a sudden were just turning back and making absolutely no sense. But yeah, you can keep going. I'm just saying that they just changed so much shit randomly. Made no sense.
Yeah.
Just a little sneak peek of our tangents.
And I'm not saying that I don't agree with you, because I do. I feel like, okay, what the fuck? Like, there's a lot of, I don't know, like lore changing that they're doing in this movie, and I don't know. I feel like they need to be consistent with that. They just said fuck it. They just said just do whatever you want, and then this is what came out. It definitely felt like it wasn't like, it didn't stick to the script. It was very kind of everywhere. But obviously there was moments in this movie, that were like good, that weren't like, that were funny, but they weren't forced funny, which is a lot of what this movie is, which is bad, because you don't want that for a whole movie. There are some highlights, but it's, I'm not saying it's bad, because there's obviously way worse movies in this franchise than this one.
Not many.
But for it to be like a Phase 4 movie, and it be like already like, an established character, not a brand new movie like Captain Marvel was, or Eternals, that, I mean, I think Blake
Shang-Chi
likes
came
the
out.
movie.
Eternals
Shang-Chi,
came out in this phase.
Yeah, like
new characters.
Yeah, like, those are all like new characters, and then you would think, with a character like Thor, he's already been established. Like, it should be like a cakewalk, and it definitely wasn't. It was rough. I just feel like they really should have kind of kept him on the path he was on, off of like that Infinity War Endgame kind of Thor. It was kind of a mix of the OG Thor and then like the Ragnarok Thor. But this one is like taking the Ragnarok Thor and dialing it up to like 100. It was way too much. They need to dial it back a little bit, kind of bring it back to that Infinity War kind of Thor. He obviously had his moments, but he was also serious when he needed to be. So I think that's kind of where it brought it down for me was the main character wasn't the character that I wanted to see. He was definitely not the same Thor that I was envisioning for this movie. That's like the one thing that really just derailed everything. If your main character isn't what he's supposed to be, the movie is doomed, from the beginning. Obviously, Christian Bale, he did what he could with the movie when he was on screen. He wasn't really on screen much. I did see that going into it, that he wasn't going to be in it a lot, and I feel like it would have benefited the movie if he was in it more. Same thing with the Guardians. They were kind of in there, and they were kind of pushed out fairly quickly. I feel like, that there was a good opportunity for them when Thor needed to go to the Shadow Realm and stop Gore from, finding this eternal person or whatever,
Eternity.
and making his wish.
What are we doing?
Okay, fine. I can't remember. I can't remember that part. That instead of getting like the kids to help him, which is fine. That
it was not fine.
Like,
don't you ever say that again. Shut the fuck. It was fine. What? Thor just randomly having the ability to give his power to children who have never fought, and the children, not a single one of them died or took any damage. They just wiped all these monsters that were killing actual Asgardians who could fight in Asgard. But these children all of a sudden just randomly have Thor's power.
They were sliding and shit,
no,
bro.
That was fine.
They knew fucking kung fu practice.
No,
garbage.
No, I mean, it's like...
Yeah. Dude, shout out to Anakin, man. I'm so glad he killed kids. Fuck them kids, man. Thanks. If you put kids in your movie, I already fucking hate it.
Not to mention, just a quick little thing about why the whole Guardians showing up at the end to help would also make sense. If you remember in Guardians 2, when his dad, Peter's dad, was doing that stuff, at one point, Peter goes, "I see it now. I see eternity." And in his eyes, you can see a reflection of what looks like eternity in the comics, which is what looked like in here of a being that is like the galaxy. So Peter, you could already say, has some knowledge of eternity. So it kind of makes sense that he also would be able to know about eternity to help Thor out and go there. But no, let's just give these children the ability.
They were underutilized.
Or any of the buildup of the Guardians having a connection with Thor. Like, obviously, they just skipped all this kind of time frame. And we're just like, oh, you're getting dropped off, bud. We actually don't still really like you. There's no chemistry between us with all that time going on and the battles we've done together. Just fuck off.
Yeah.
And then their lines was cringy as shit. It takes effort to make the Guardians look bad.
Just a complete slap in James Gunn's face for how good he has done the Guardians in his 2 movies and how great he's made that group. And then for dumbass Taika Waititi to, of course, just ruin that, as he ruins a lot of characters in this movie. Just, phenomenal job, Marvel.
Yeah. I mean,
the
Guardians being underutilized.
Thor being underutilized. Seriousness being underutilized. Having good actors. Yeah. If he's killed
Can you even call him a god butcher?
Can you even call him
the god butcher when he killed one god? And then at the same time, almost Thor killed the same amount of gods because he killed Zeus.
He killed like
or at least he thought he killed Zeus.
Yeah, you could argue he killed all those things.
One big one.
You only see...
Yeah, because we didn't see it. But yeah, he technically killed them, but we only saw him kill like 2.
Yeah. He apparently killed a bunch of them, but we didn't see any of it. We just saw them flip through distress.
Could have had a badass scene where Thor is like, oh, this god is literally the most innocent of them all. Could have been a crazy, menacing scene. See how corrupt Gore is.
Or, them. Kind of have Gore show up at the Colosseum where all of the gods were grouped up. That also would have been dope to see. When they crash in there and be like, all right, now I'm going to kill. Like,
now Thor does it instead.
Yeah, where they're literally in like a enclosed area. It's like, oh, this is the perfect time for Gore to show up and start to murder a bunch of...
A little Hulk joke saying, it's time to smash.
So,
Zeus basically was the Grand Master from the last one. Taika just said, oh, people liked this, so let me have another person who's in charge, who's a little bit, a fan of orgies.
It literally was just
all that stuff was the exact same.
Dog shit.
Zeus being this kind of not flaky, but kind of like a more funny, loose kind of person, just like the Grand Master was. Just,
but then gets serious at the end.
Oh, you guys like Ragnarok? All right, well, I'm just going to take the exact same concept, and then I'm going to throw in a bunch more awful jokes, and you guys will love it again,
And
right?
make it just everything
It'll be
worse.
great. Everyone will love it. People won't actually speak out and say how it was not a good movie and how Taika completely phoned it in, and how you had great actors and you completely messed them up.
You know,
That the best parts of this movie were the parts that Taika footprint was not a part of it. The serious moments of, you know, Jane and Thor together.
And the post-credit scene.
The post-credit scene was... The very
Kevin
last
Feige.
post-credit scene was a little confusing. I was like, okay, I guess it's cool, but like it was just weird. It just...
Apparently Kevin Feige was the one that like wanted the Zeus and Hercules post-credit scene. You can tell like already like Zeus changed. Like,
yeah, you have a complete
wasn't
change
even
of
the same
Zeus actually
anymore.
being cool. You know, completely not
and
anything
then you
like
see
what he was in
Hercules
the
and
movie.
okay. Yeah.
Just bad.
Yeah.
Just
So
bad.
yeah, it was a rough one. It was yeah. But that's just my stuff. You know, I was trying to find some positives in here, but they're very, very minimal.
There's a few.
Some of the action sequences were cool, but I mean, there wasn't even a lot of them to begin with. So yeah, it was rough.
And the first one was just like cringy. I felt like Thor in his battle with the Guardians. Like it was okay to start. I was like, okay, this isn't too bad. Like what he was doing. But then as soon as it did, the two vehicles crushing him, and he jumps up and like is doing the splits while stopping them, and it just, first off, it looked awful. It just looked so CGI'd and garbage. But then him just like looking at them like back and forth, and the camera switching between like the two beings driving the thing, and Thor, I was like, what are we doing? Like this is garbage. Like this, it literally felt like a trash 80s movie, and like some of the comedy. Like Thor, they're right behind me, aren't they? Like, that was just garbage. The whole interaction when they're walking to the gods of Jane and Thor, and Jane's talking about how she needs a new catchphrase. The fact that Chris Hemsworth and Natalie Portman, who are good... Natalie Portman's a great actress. Chris Hemsworth is a solid actor. The fact that those two... we're just like, yeah, no, these lines are great. We'll actually say these. Like, I'm perfectly fine for most of the movie. They had 2 movies together. They should have chemistry. This movie just said all of that. Take it away. They were so bad together until the very end when they were serious in the hospital. When they could actually act.
That's the only scene.
Instead of reading garbage, cheesy lines.
And since they're so bad... Yeah, since they're so bad, even that hospital scene's not even that impactful. Like, I gave 2 shits that she died at the end, I'll be honest. I didn't care because she was so bad the entire movie that I didn't give a single fuck. Bro, it just didn't matter. You just don't care at all, you know? And that's with me going to this movie, turning my brain off, and I still realize there's fucking dog shit. So
like, and like you said,
bad.
there are some highlights of this movie. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say this is, you know, shouldn't have, like, all this stuff. There's a lot of issues with it. There are some highlights. Like, obviously, as we said, anytime Christian Bale was on screen, you were enjoying it, or at least I was. Like, he was good. Obviously, we wish we saw him get to be more of Gore the God Butcher, and got to see him do more of that stuff, which, you know, of course, whose fault is that? Could it be partially Disney? I'm sure, because they wanted to keep the rating down and stuff. I'm sure Disney's at fault here as well. So is Taika. They're both at fault. What are you doing? But if Gore was on screen, I enjoyed it. Like we said, I personally really liked that whole hospital interaction at the end between Jane and Thor. Like, I actually could be, like, invested in that storyline and, like, emotionally invested. And, like, that even had, like, some of the comedy that I thought was funny. Like, when Thor freaks out and beats the vending machine, and then he walks in with the bags, and she's like, what happened? He's like, oh, some idiot made a refrigerator without a door, but I got it open. Like, that was actually, like, I chuckled at that. I was like, that was actually kind of funny, because it wasn't forced. It was just a part of the flow of the conversation. And some of the color stuff I did like Thor's suit being a little bit brighter, and some of the scenes, like the color, I did like that it was a bit of a change of pace of it actually being brighter. Like, there was some stuff in this movie that was good, but a majority of it was bad because the writing, for the most part, was pretty awful. And if you have garbage writing, your movie is never going to be anything better than solid, which was at best what this movie was. Solid at very best. And it was very disappointing.
Also, like the Mighty Thor's powers, Jane Foster. I
Yeah.
thought any of her fight scenes was actually kind of cool. But, you know, as we said, the character, anytime she spoke,
Cringy. And then the ending, too.
was
Like,
bad.
I thought she destroyed Mjolnir when she absorbed part of the Necrosword and then smashed it and hit it with the lightning bolt. But it's like, oh no, just the
Yeah, it's
Necrosword.
back.
Yeah, so it was like, okay, so
like,
the
how's it back?
emotional impact of that scene of not only is Thor about to lose Jane because she, you know, used Mjolnir again, which was going to kill her, but she was also going to destroy the hammer to completely get rid of that whole thing. And then, like, in the moment, it was a little bit impactful, like, oh, Jane's sacrificing herself and the weapon, like, everything. But it ends up she wasn't. She died, at least. You know, at least they killed her off. Which, after seeing her in this movie, I was happy about because they ruined her. Which I was like, good for them. Get rid of her. Because you guys screwed her. But, you know, Mjolnir is still kicking. So it's like, okay. We're just going to continue to take away the impact of the scenes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. And then now we get to deal with Gore's kid being a thing. And Gore makes it to the end. He wins. And he chooses to
be
bring
raised
his dead daughter
by a
back.
god.
By a god that he barely knows. Has zero reason to trust her just because he's like, oh, I see that your fucking person that you love is dying. Yeah, let me last second fully corrupted.
That's
everything
phase 4
that
for you.
change.
I mean, that's every phase 4 ending has been. The villain is actually a good person at the end of it. Because, you know, it's Disney. It's like, why do you think we all liked Thanos so much? Because no matter what, he gets to the Soul Stone. He kills the only person he loves. Because he is on this mission. He's going to accomplish his mission. Then we see him in Endgame. Younger himself watches his future self get decapitated. Because it completed the mission. And what does he do? He still goes to complete the mission. Meanwhile, we have Shang-Chi's dad at the end of it. You know what? I bet an awful father. Here, have the rings back, though. Feel bad about my death. I give him the rings. Feel bad about my death. Or, I mean, Wanda kind of makes sense, but she, you know, at the end of it is like, oh, I got to destroy the Darkhold. I know, she is a little different, but I'm just saying
Wanda's
in terms of phase 4.
Yeah,
And then you have
that one's a little
Eternals, you
different.
have the Deviants
Yeah.
at the end of it, even though the I really like Eternals, but the Deviants at the end, the main one, is like, oh, actually, I kind of will help some of you Eternals fight this Eternal, because, like, we're not all bad, and then at the end, Icarus and Sprite are both like, hey, you know what? You're actually right, guys. Let's join the Unimind. You're
You guys
right.
are right.
I don't want to be bad.
You guys were right. Yep. The sacrifice to everything. Oh, let me just disappear.
Black Widow,
too. Let me just fly away.
Taskmaster was ruined
Maybe
in
I'll
that movie,
return.
but also at the end of it, saved
Oh my
Taskmaster, which we
fucking
might see in the
God.
future being a good person. So it's just like, all they're doing is every ending is the same thing. The villains just turn out okay before they die or whatever happens to them. Instead of them dying bad. It's bad.
Yup.
Bad.
And then on top of that, once again, we get another Phase 4 movie that doesn't move anything
No, man, we're gonna
forward.
see Hercules go
into
after
the
Thor
timeline
in
of
in
what's
Thor
going
5
on.
in 2030. You know, something like that.
Yeah,
when
like 6 years.
you know, we're supposed to care about
Yeah.
that storyline, even though we're never gonna see it for. It won't even be touched for at least 5 years.
Even though he's just gonna be a complete and utter dumbass, he's literally just gonna be an even dumber Thor. So his
It's just
jokes,
gonna be
I'm sure,
Gore again,
will
some
be
guy
funny
on a
for
quest,
sure.
going for a certain god, and at the end of it, him and Thor will team up to stop a bigger bad.
No, they'll make like a stupid joke and be like, "Oh, we're homies now."
It's just Phase 4 in general. It's just so bad, so all over the place. It's I
Yep,
don't know.
yep, yep.
Hopefully it gets better from here.
It won't.
Dog
I
shit.
mean,
Okay.
I doubt it.
There's
too much pressure on
Think
him,
about it.
right?
Okay. There's no way that it can get any worse than this. This is like
Yes, it can.
All I'm
It
saying
can continue to go down.
is I was too harsh to Captain Marvel. I was too harsh to
Look at
Captain
that.
Marvel. Things could have been
Look at
worse,
that.
and I'm seeing the worst.
Something
my
that they don't
character
know how to
development.
do with Thor.
Yeah, well, he's gonna find himself again because like now he just lost his love.
Oh, he'll be
again.
a good dad now.
So how's he
That
gonna
way.
handle that?
We're expecting him just to be a good dad and happy.
Yeah.
And that's not going to change, though.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. What more could he lose?
My interest.
bring
I
back
know he's
Infinity
lost
War
that.
Thor.
One of my favorite
Yeah,
characters
bring
in
back
comics.
Thor.
And I simply do not care to see Thor again.
Yeah. I don't give a fuck about the kid. I just know it's gonna be cringy as shit and awful, and the CGI will be awful for their fight scenes too.
And it's just
Oh, one more thing.
Yeah. Oh, and we didn't even talk about the relationship with the hammers and the axe, everything. The cringe talking to it, them out of nowhere having personalities. It was funny.
like at first
At
when
sometimes, like, at
Stormbreaker
first,
just shows
like
up
the
out of
very
nowhere when
first
he's trying
joke.
to call Mjolnir, it's like, oh, that was kind of funny. But it was just because it came, and then
Yeah, that was funny. And then it kept going, you know? Yeah. The only time like I chuckled for when it comes to one of those weapon jokes was what you're saying, like when he was trying to call Mjolnir and then the axe shows up,
which was the first
sliding
time
next to him. I was
it
like,
happened.
okay,
And it was
that's
like,
funny.
okay, that would have been
Mhm.
funny. We could just end it there,
Yeah. And then now it's affecting the plot because it's unstable because it has emotions.
you know?
Yeah, that was a tough one.
Out of nowhere,
Cool.
Jane and Thor have this whole
Yeah.
love story that we have to get Taika because it's Taika and he wants everybody to hear and see him and everything, so he has to narrate like 3 different times in this movie. And they have this whole awful
Mhm.
garbage
I wish he died.
garbage little love montage thing. Like, what are we doing?
Alright, apparently,
Yep.
Stormbreaker can be held by almost anybody now.
Oh yeah, Heimdall's son
Thor,
just catches it and uses it. Like, okay.
And the little girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, don't even get me started on that kid scene, bro. I'm an avid fuck them kids.
Just like I said, yeah.
And we
I'm
got a
just
whole
randomly
fight scene
throwing
with
stuff
them.
in all of a sudden. We are the 4th installment of Thor's own movies. This is like our 9th time seeing Thor. And we're still just making shit up.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh, also like the fact that he just whispers to Mjolnir to protect Jane, and that has literally 0 impact. They never even mention it. They like teased about Thor maybe realizing that's what he did. Had no reason to it. There's no point of it
There's no point of a lot of
at
this.
all. It was so fucking stupid. Yeah.
It's just bad.
Well, give it a 5 out of 10. Very mid. That's what I would give it.
Literally only watch it just
Yeah.
for Christian Bale if you're a fan of him. Otherwise, you could miss this movie and you miss nothing. Just know that Hercules might show up in
Maybe.
6 years.
Or sooner.
We might
Yeah, there's
see
a
him.
random girl now. That's it. There's no impact. No. Oh, we also got the tease about Celestials again. They're just there at the God orgy. So that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Loving Eternals. They're just saying fuck that shit. It was a pointless movie.
Literally, Phase
Even though
4,
it's
they've
good.
been giving the directors more power. And, like, for some things it works. Like, Chloe Zhao with Eternals, like, she's known for her storytelling and, like, the visuals being really good and, like, these kind of philosophical, whatever that word is. You know what I'm saying?
One
Like,
of those two,
kinda
yeah.
thing.
Don't worry about it.
And, like, obviously that movie, whether people liked it or not, it had some stunning visuals at times, and the concept was different than Marvel stuff, and you had this whole idea of, like, can we stop the Celestial from killing Earth to save billions of future ones, or is stopping them to save Earth and the billions on here worth it? Like, you have all that stuff. And then obviously you have Multiverse of Madness. Sam Raimi, more of a horror director, doing some of his stuff. And obviously we saw that. We saw the horror elements. We saw some of his, like, kind of, he's known for having little cringy close-up shots, which we saw all that. And then obviously Taika Waititi thinks he's hilarious, so we have Thor, supposed to be a funny movie, and it just wasn't. Like, I sort of respect them giving directors more creative control, but you also have to not give it to
Helps keep it fresh,
egotistical,
but
bad directors, which is what Taika is.
Okay, off of this movie, yes,
also
but
need some
okay, you
framing,
also
too.
gotta give him props. He did do Ragnarok, which, despite this movie, I enjoy Ragnarok a lot. It's up there in terms of the movies, just being like the most rewatchable one. But see, the thing is that one was directed by Taika, but it wasn't written by him. This
Exactly.
one was.
That's what I'm saying. You cannot
So
give
they definitely
full
need
control to
writing.
someone like Taika.
Yeah.
Yeah, they need to keep,
Plus, also with Thor Ragnarok, it was like the comedy wasn't everywhere.
because it wasn't written by Taika.
That was like overbearing, and as well as the serious moments were actually impactful. Like Odin actually dying there, I thought that scene, I loved it from Thor Ragnarok. And then they built it off where the sister coming in, and then realizing that, oh shit, she's that powerful, you know. There's just a lot of moments to it where it's like, yes, you love this, and also built on Thor's character, and you're like, all right, they're gonna progress from
Backtracks
this.
everything.
And then this movie just, I mean, made Thor Ragnarok pointless, everything pointless, and also the fact that like he talks to Jane as if like they have no chemistry, no background, no nothing at all, was so annoying. I mean, it felt like these are two characters that were meeting for the first time. And I get it, it's been a while and they broke up, but still, you just could not see any of that history in the movie.
Other than the flashbacks at the beginning.
Yeah, which were not even scenes really.
So overall, not a good movie. I'd probably give it somewhere on like a 3.2, which about 2.5 of that is solely because of Christian Bale. So he is literally the only thing that saved this movie from being watchable.
And he wasn't even in it that much.
Yeah. Oh, we even mentioned the goats. Bringing back a
They're hilarious, man. What are
2012
you
joke.
talking about?
Seriously?
So funny.
For the entire movie.
Talk about
The
something
entire
else that
movie.
after the first time should have just stopped, you know.
Like
bringing back that
Taika
joke.
directing Marvel movies
Stopped.
after the first time. Just stop it. Get it away.
Yeah.
But hey, you
Yeah,
Star Wars
so
fans,
hopefully
you got
phase 5, baby.
something to look forward to.
Oh shit.
Let's go.
Now I think we're seeing the Star Wars. Star Wars, I think, should be a warning for Marvel right now, as that is
Very
where we are
quickly.
heading towards. Awful direction, and then a split fan base on many of the projects. When in reality, it's all dog shit. And then they'll release a mediocre one like The Mandalorian, and then everyone will get hyped about it and get excited. And then in reality, that shit is best 7 out of 10. That is the future for Marvel.
Cool.
So
Josh, what do you rank this
Be
movie
hyped,
to end
boys.
this video out?
just for like a pure movie standard, I give it a 5 out of 10. You got some cool action scenes. You could put on the TV, not give too much of a shit about it, you know. But that's
Well,
really
I
it.
think that's going to wrap up this video. Thor Love and Thunder. Write in the comments. What did you think of it? Probably. If you thought it was good.
Kill yourself.
You have a little extreme. Write in the comments what you thought of it below. Make sure to like this video. Subscribe to the channel. Check us out on social medias. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
Peace.